everybody, my name is Margaret and I am an online seller. I sell on eBay and Etsy to help support my family, and I decided to make this video where we talk about what happens when you lose an item because I felt it was important to share that this is something that happens from time to time. If you're a new seller, this may be something that happens more frequently if you're not very organized. And as much as it looks like I am disorganized back here, I'm fairly organized when it comes to the things that I have listed. I've got all my mugs in one spot. I have my jewelry in a very specific spot. I'll take a picture and share. It's labeled, you know, where bracelets go, where rings, necklaces. So I know where to find everything and I know where to put things when they sell. So let me tell you what happened. The way I take pictures is I take a bunch of pictures of items and then I list all of those things, and then I take another big batch of photos. In the last batch of photos that I took and listed, I had a necklace, which was a Weiss necklace, and I feel particularly silly about this because it was something I recently took photos of. I made a video for it because I wanted to highlight the colors on it, and I can't find it. It sold within 24 hours of me listing it, and it sold for $75. So this was really upsetting me, and it did a lot to me mentally. I'm not gonna lie. It really was a mess up in my brain. But I wanted to come on and talk about it, not because I'm into self-humiliation, but because I know that this happens to everybody, and I wanted to share with you guys what my process was to try to find it, and then what my process was to eat humble pie and make it right. When my items sold and I went to the two places where I keep necklaces, one is in a set of drawers for smaller necklaces. It probably would have fit in there. And then anything larger, I have like a shoebox plastic tub that I keep larger pieces of jewelry in. And when it wasn't in either of those spots, I began to worry, but it isn't uncommon for me late when I'm tired to put a necklace in with the bracelets or something like that. So I wasn't panicking yet. I went through and I looked in all of the drawers. I looked through all of my shoebox tubs with the larger pieces of jewelry. And when it wasn't there, I started really getting concerned. So the next thing I did, which you would probably do as well, or I would suggest, is to start looking through. What I did was I went and looked through the photos of everything else that I took pictures of during that batch of photos, because I wanted to see perhaps there was something else that was misplaced and they might have been misplaced together. And when I went through and searched everything was accounted for. So it wasn't that I had laid a number of things aside together. It just wasn't there. I can remember thinking to myself, I need to keep this in a special place and I need to make sure that it's not going to get damaged. And I remember thinking about it because it's a really nice piece and it's expensive. So what happened from there? I don't know. I can't remember. But I ended up going through my entire workroom. I went through every mug and looked inside every mug thinking maybe I dropped it in a mug that I was listing and it just got stacked up over there. I went through every tub, whether it was for hats, purses, Star Wars figures. I went through everything. I went behind so I ended up taking out all of the unlisted stuff it's on lower shelves and going behind everything. I went through mixed lots that I had. I went through jewelry jars that I just did, thinking maybe I swept it into the tub from the jewelry jar. I went through the bag that I have set aside for my sister, thinking maybe I grabbed it up with that stuff and put it in the bag for her. It was nowhere to be found. So I gave myself a good, I probably spent way too longer than I should have. I stayed up for about 3 hours last night looking for it, and then I got up again this morning and did the same thing. I went through everything one more time. My kids helped me. They went through it with me. Again, still nowhere to be found. And it is the Christmas holidays, so I didn't want to spend the rest of the holidays agonizing over where it might be. And I didn't want the buyer wondering, I wonder when she's going to send this thing. So I just went to Etsy where it sold and wrote them an apology letter. And I was completely honest. I set this aside for safekeeping and I cannot find it. I didn't want the buyer to think that I was misleading them in order to pull it down and relist it for higher or anything like that, because it's not what happened. But so what I did was I sent them a message apologizing and said, as soon as I find it, I will message you first and give you the option to buy it again before I relist it. So if this ever happens to you, make sure that you are gracious with your buyer and let them know completely honestly what happened, and give them the opportunity to purchase the item again if the item is found. So that's kind of where we left off here. I haven't heard back from the buyer yet, and I haven't found the item either. So I almost felt like as soon as I sent the refund, it would magically appear on my desk, and it just didn't. But yeah, I wanted to make this video so that you see, if this happens to you, that perhaps you're not alone and that it happens to the best of us. I started thinking maybe I need to revise my system for my inventory, but again, it's not something that, I think if it was something that happened all the time, it might be something I need to revisit. But my inventory system where I keep my listed items is pretty clear. I don't put that in my inventory note, which I know some people do. They'll label the tubs that they have all their stuff in and put that inventory note in their listing so they know exactly what tub to go to, and that's a smart option. But most of my things are fairly small, and my jewelry pieces can fit in these particular drawers, so there's not a ton that I have to go through. I think if I started getting more and more listed, it might be something I have to revisit. But for the moment, that's where we're at. So I hope this never happens to you. And another thing that I was thinking about that you might think about too when, or if this ever happens to you, is you start focusing on that money. And I found that that's what I was really fixated on last night, more so than this morning. This morning was more resignation. But last night I was really focused on the price that it sold for, because it sold for $75. And I felt like I had already spent that money in my mind. I was like, well, this is going to pay the gas bill. Okay, good. Woo, okay. And so in my mind, I was thinking I'm out $75, but truly, I got this item in a lot of other jewelry. It was in a bag of jewelry that I got for $10. So technically, I maybe would be out $1 if I look at it that way. It's unfortunate, and it stings. And again, I really was not 100% sure that I would come on and talk about it, but I wanted to let you guys know, if it happens to you, to not beat yourself up too bad about it. It happens. And yeah, and you just have to do the right thing by the buyer and apologize, refund, and let them know if it's found, then I'll give you the opportunity to buy it again. So let me know your stories, if there was something that you lost or couldn't find where you had to refund, so that we are all commiserating together and we don't feel so alone in the mistakes that we make along the way in this reselling journey. I hope you guys have a really great afternoon. Bye.